Hello, everyone, and good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to this Q&A clinic for the PMS, the Product Management Service. This section is dedicated to users of PMS PY portal or application programming interface system who may have question or request of clarification for the PMS system. So we have a small agenda. So most of the time, as you can see, is dedicated to Q&A section. I will start just to summarize and give you a bit of updates on those that are the upcoming events and documentation updates. And we are trying to reformat a bit the presentation and the way we handle this meeting to give you more, to take the chance to share more updates, even at the level of the known issue, what we've been able to fix, what we're working on, and more. And then, of course, there will be 45 minutes dedicated, even more probably, for Q&A via Slido. So, few housekeeping notes. As usual, I'm sure you are all very familiar with the way the agency handles these events on WebEx. Usually, is always recorded the section that we have, and we always make it available for future references throughout the EMA YouTube channel, but also on our EMA event webpage. So if you click on the link of the event on the EMA website, you can even find in few days from today's the available recording and presentation. Then, if you want to participate to this event, of course, you can use Slido as usual, so nothing really new here. You can always, if there is any user who is new to this system, you can use Slido to ask questions or share your input. So we can even take up for discussion with the audience to share some updates. Of course, by using Slido, it means that you're sharing with us, you're giving to us the consent to process your personal data. There is an EMA data protection notice where it's basically explaining how your data retained, which are the personal data that we retain for how long. But then you can use it even by sharing your name, or even you can decide to opt and remain anonymous. No problem with that. Now, moving to sorry, to the upcoming events. As you know, the RDM, the Regulatory Data Management Service to which we belong in SPOR services, we host a lot of Q&A clinics. We have extended even to the rest of the SPOR services, so not only PMS, but also for the SMS, OMS, and RMS throughout the whole year. For the moment, you can only see until May, so mostly H2 of this year, but I'm pretty sure this might be extended throughout the whole 2026. We also have Q&A clinics for EXCVMPD. The next one is actually indeed in 2 days. I'll try to be there as well to cover PMS related question only. And then we also have the quarterly updates on a status update for the whole SPOR services and the XCVMPD. XCVMPD, just for those who are new, is considered because there are few updates, in the way we ask the user to submit the data, or even for the portal that it will be released as a new way of accessing the database, and is also connected to the PMS because the goal of the agency, the future goal, is to decommission XVMPD. So you need to keep an eye on all the system anyway. So that's for you. Then we have also updated a few information. Here you can find the most important ones, and during our next meeting we will share gradually all the updates for documents as well. So we have been releasing a new version of the PMS FAQ document. So basically we have it's part of our commitment and effort to try to be as much transparent as possible possible in sharing with the external users, either if they use PUI or API, to clearly explain what we have been working on, which are the most frequently questions that we receive, and try to bring a bit of more transparency to everybody. Most importantly here is usually the table at the very bottom of this document is kept up to date. As you know, over the time we fixed issues, bugs, and products information. So over the time, this table is always kept up to date with the latest information on what the EMA did so far and what might be the action for the external user in that specific matter. Then we have been also updated chapter 5 and also annex A to the chapter 5. So for those who are not familiar with this chapter and these two documents, the implementation guide, part of the remit is also to clarify clearly which are the level of accessibility for the users. And as you know, at the agency, we need to consider every type of user. So we have access level 1 for the general public, we have access level 2 for the MAH, the industry, and also access level 3 for the authorities. Here in chapter 5, we have updated this document to clarify which is the role of the European Commission and the branches. So those agencies who are decentralized like the EMA, but are not involved in the pharmaceutical sector like us. So we want really to clarify which is the level of accessibility for this agency, which is for the moment not possible. So only agencies like the EMA and the Commission can access the PMS data. Then, moreover, we have been working on implementing new information in Annex A at the level of the public, the general public access level 1. As I mentioned before, this is because in future, so by the first half of 2026, we are planning to release the public PMS API indeed for the general public. So one of the value of this currently the UAT, the tests are ongoing with more than 50 testers. There was a call and this has started yesterday, will last for 2 weeks. So everything is really ongoing. So that's why there is no formal date for the go live. We need to see if there is an issue and we need to fix the bug. But we already released Annex A that explains how many elements and which element across the PMS data model can be in future accessible, of course. An eye should be kept in the sense that not all the data are available because we don't have the enrichment functionality, but this is really an extended updated file that is actually granting access to the 70% of the entire PMS database. Once in future, we will be able to open the full write capability. So this is really a milestone, and it regards the updated documentation that we wanted to share today with you. Then we have also been working in fixing issues, as we were mentioning. Now, I don't know if you were able to join the sport status update on the 28th of January. I gave a presentation on the list of bugs and data fixes that we've been able to address and that we're still working on it. And this is just a recap of what I already explained. If is not going extensive, so I would really address you to watch also the sports status update from the 28th of January. But in essence, the most important one is that we have been working in fixing the issue in PMS, API, and PUI. Now you can see a screenshot here from the PUI because it's easier to read. It's more human friendly. But basically, when you have a transfer of products, so there is a transfer or marketing authorization from org A to org B, of course you need to update XCVMPD. And when the user updates the EV codes and submit and create the different EV codes, what happened and we noticed is that the packages did not appear correctly in the product user interface and also in API. So what I've been working so far is really to implement a data fix for all of these products, and the next step for us is the bug fix. So we fix first the bug and then we implement the data fix. So meaning that we go and fix all the products that have been impacted by this bug. The results of it is that gradually you will see that all the authorized packages that have been submitted via XCVMPD upon marketing authorization transfer will be gradually visible in PUI and in API. Now, if you only have access to PUI, you need to wait because there is another step which is coming from Iris, but gradually you will see all of them being reflected correctly. We are talking in terms of volume of data about around 27K packages for the moment that we're making available. You can verify already if you are in this, if you have raised this issue, you can verify the availability of packages, and if you open the ticket, you can already close by yourself. Why? Because the pace of data fix might be a little bit quicker than the pace of addressing the tickets. If you joined the previous meeting I had for the SPOR update, I shared the fact that the PMS is gradually increasing their volume of staff involved in the addressing and handling of snow tickets, but they are learning. So I gave a training, so they need time a bit to be up to speed. So that's why you might not receive a quick answer immediately, but at the same time you will see that actually all the packages are now reflected correctly either in API or in PUI. So we will kindly ask you a bit of understanding and proactiveness on this sense, and we thank you for that. Then another issue where we are working now is and actually I got an update just before this meeting, is that if you remember, the all ATC code report that has been built in PLM portal to support indeed the identification, the quick and prompt identification of critical medicines, critical products from the ULCM list, had an issue. We had a bug, and actually not all the products information were correctly popping up by selecting the ATC codes of reference based on the ULCM list. We noticed the bug and we identified the root cause of this bug, which was a bit complex, so that's why it took a lot to address it. And now the agency basically has been deployed in UAT. We have been testing these, so it should be fixed soon. Actually, one of the latest update that I got was actually that the developer team should have already deployed that into production. I haven't had the time yet to check, but I would encourage you to have a look. And if there is any other ticket, again, the pace of addressing of replying to ticket, I'm super sorry, is very slow because it's just Marcos and me, but we are involved as product owner in many products. It's not an excuse, but that's why you see reply coming on late, basically. And we have one full FT and two more that are coming, but they're learning. So that's why you don't see immediate replies to tickets. But maybe the issue is already fixed. So please have a look. Now, coming to the core part, one of the most important part of this section is that you can submit your question via Slido. If you have your computer, you can just join at slido.com and then include the hashtag PMSQA1002 in capitals. Or you can just use your mobile phone, use the QRD, and then submit your question. You can upvote, you can send the question, or you can even upvote the question that somebody has already shared in case you're interested to hear the updates. I hope I have all the updates that you asked for. If not, apologies, because Marcos is away for 2 weeks, so I'll do my best. And then we will be showing, of course, the question question, and then we will, of course, share the screen and try to give you the most concise answers. Now, I'll give back the floor to my colleague from the change management team, Greta and Vivian. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking for
Okay, I will
questions.
start sharing my screen.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. We already have a few questions.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's start the Q&A. So the first question is, what is the difference between third acknowledgements and valid versions received from EMA as information validated in both are always different? Oops, sorry.
I see you're not
Actually,
sharing.
yeah. You can't. Oh, sorry. Let me just, let's just show it. Sorry.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
for the audience is
Okay, yeah,
there.
sorry, because
Thank you.
hopefully you can see my screen now. Yes.
Yes,
Sorry, I
yes,
had a bit of
we
an issue.
can at least.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So sorry, I was reading that. What is the difference between a third acknowledgement and the valid versions received from EMA as information validated in both are always different? Also, can you suggest which one we should refer to update on our data? And I just wanted to mention that we have brought some questions from the SPOR meeting that were relevant for PMS in this Q&A clinic. Okay, so you'll find some here.
Okay, so I need to make a statement before we receive more questions. So Marcus is not available for 2 weeks, so any XUMPD related question, I'm afraid I'm not able to reply. What I can do is do my best to answer offline. Especially for this one, I will consult also the XUMPD backup business owner for that. So apologies, colleagues.
Okay,
I'm
I
sure you
think
can
also the
understand.
next one is the same
Mm.
situation, I believe.
Maybe can I just read it a second because
Yes,
I see PMS
absolutely.
POI. Maybe I'm able. In
Mm-hmm.
XCVMPD, we are only submitting org EV code. Yes, correct. How in PMS POI org ID and loc ID are mapped as in OMS for same org IDs. So two different loc ID are active, and we have not submitted updated loc ID. While in PMS PUI is correct ORCID is present for all products, I guess you're asking for. So what happens is that when there is an XCVMPD record, and in this case, in the case of the MAH, you have indeed an org EV code. What we always request is to the OMS team to make sure that they can create the correct mapping to the to the EV code in the XCVMPD against the OMS org and loc ID. So if this mapping is correctly implemented, then this will trigger in the ID standards word language in PMS the corresponding data marketing authorization owners data from OMS. If this is missing, then definitely you don't see anything. And we have seen some cases, this should be rare. Now, I read here you have you mentioned that org ID and loc ID are mapped in OMS for the same org IDs. I will need to see if there is any issue here because there might be maybe a wrong mapping that I'm not able now to reply. I should ask the OMS team to investigate. But if you want, I think Vivian, they can share the ticket ID in their
Mm-hmm.
questions. So if so, maybe you can submit the ID and I can present it to the OMS team just to have a look. But that's definitely the flow. If the map is correct, it should be appearing in PMS API. Then a caveat. PMS API is the starting point. Then we have Iris that calls the PMS API and call all the data into the system, and then the data that are called, except for these OMS informations, because they have a block there in case change of marketing authorization owner transfer, they need to be able to know whether a regulatory procedure has been completed, submitted, etc. The data then are submitted to PUI. And that's why you might see sometimes that PUI doesn't have exactly the most aligned and up-to-date data in comparison to API. because Iris has a block. We need to address this need because it's definitely not user-friendly and it blocks a lot of, data, but there is also regulatory aspect that to consider. Sorry, I took a while, but I wanted to be as much precise as possible.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so from where PMS PUI is consuming information and updating authorization status to surrender revoke, in PMS PUI, in some products for all procedures, as no submissions performed with such statuses in XCV MPD, please clarify how such status is updated.
So I will need to understand, and I suspect you're talking about a CAP products. I can tell you that if it's a CAP product, the authorization status is coming from SIAMED. I'm checking also in chapter 7 because usually is the most up to date. Yeah, and I see here where it's coming from. So usually the, the core principle is that any information at the level of authorization status comes from XMPD. But in case of CAPS, sometimes because the SIAMED is the system of the agency, it might be updated in front end before you update XVMPD. And this triggers, in essence, a difference between the data that you have visible in XVMPD and the data that you see in PMS. Now, in this case, I will need again to make sure that if it's coming from SIAMED, definitely the colleagues from the business and regulatory affairs, they have completed the procedure. So maybe there is just this time frame gap between the submission required according to Article 57 in XMPD. But if it's not the case, you need to raise an incident because I need to make sure that the data really propagated. If there was no change so far of from a regulatory perspective of the authorization status, then is an issue, and we need to fix it. It depends. Thank you.
Okay, so next question. The language field of package description at packaged medicinal product session in PMS PUI is missing. Kindly clarify, is this also part of the enrichment EMA known issues or EMA service now ticket needs to be raised?
So the language it's very simple here. So the language of the at the packaged medicinal products section, so yeah, it's correct, it's the one that you're mentioning, under the package description, is by default set up based on the authorization country. Now we notice that not all the time the language is captured, and it might be the case also multi-language countries. If you notice that this is not available, then yes, you can open a ticket and we can investigate. Now, I don't know, the colleague who submit this question, if they noticed in the PUI or in the API, but in any case, the same data should be available. If you can just clarify in which system this is not available, I can straight away address the ticket to the colleagues from the data quality team in PMS because they are the one to fix it. Usually, this type of information cannot be manually fixed by me or Marcos from the business team in PMS because the dummy update doesn't trigger any update of the delta from XVMPD to PMS. So that's why I need to assign to the data quality team to fix it in the back end of the system. Thank you.
Next question. PMS EX EVMPD. How shall we handle pack sizes created by mistake? Can we use the nullify function in XEV MPD to remove the wrong pack size?
So here I will need to understand what does it mean created by mistake. It means that colleague, if you can reply to this ticket in the comment section, I make understand better. Do you mean pack size created by mistake that you have created in the updated in the PUI or API, or by default because of the XUMPD data load, these have been loaded into PMS API? So if the first case, you have a functionality in the PMS PUI or API even to update the information and remove the wrongly submitted information. If it's the second case, we need a ticket because I need to see which is you can provide the PRD code of the relevant pack size created by mistake, and we can we can fix it in the backend with the data quality team. I need to see the root cause of it. Was it because there was a transfer? Because it might also be linked to the data quality issue that we have been fixed in terms of bug, and we are gradually fixing over the time. So we need a bit more context here. And thank you.
Okay, next question. MEO's enrichment. So manufacturers coming from Siamed for caps do not have the manufacturing authorization number compiled for the operations that requires it based on Chapter 2. Are MAHs supposed to enrich this data for caps, or will this different conformity be maintained?
I'm sorry, I was muted. So indeed, the manufacturer data for CAPS products are indeed coming from Siamet. Now, indeed, we don't have, unfortunately, the system is very old, and that's one of the reasons why we are gradually transitioning and moving to embrace only PMS. One of the priorities also to decommission this Siamet system. So if the information in indeed is marked as empty in chapter 7, it means that you indeed won't find it in any element in PMS, either API or POI, and it's not even possible to store it in Siamet because they don't have the corresponding field. Otherwise, we would have been able to migrate it. So I'm afraid you don't need to submit anything or to contact us. The only way to enrich this information, same as per effective date or the regulatory agency organization approving the manufacturer business operation, is to populate it upon the release in production of the full data enrichment in PMS. At the moment, this is not possible. There is a not multi-year, but it's quite a complex process to implement it. We are starting working and focusing on PUI, but it takes a bit of time, and I can tell you won't happen in 2026 for sure. So I'm afraid we need to live like that until we open it. Thank you.
Next question. So this was a ticket that was raised in December. Our CAP product, valid, transferred, XCV, MPT successful, is still not visible in PMS PUI, so we cannot use the web-based EIF. Can you tell us what's happening with this issue now and when it will be resolved? We share the details in the last Q&A as well.
So thank you that you shared the ticket ID. This is one of the, if you remember, I shared in the presentation an update indeed of the data quality bug and issues that we have been able to fix. And I explained before that we have been able to fix the bug causing the transfer pack size not visible, and this is actually linked to that. So I can try to follow up on this ticket definitely and see if your products, and that's why the pace of data fixes might not be the same pace of sharing an update in the tickets. I can have a look, but we do expect that gradually throughout the whole Q1, so not yet ended, we're actually right in the middle, we fix all the products that have been impacted by this issue, which is specifically the transfer of the marketing authorization, which is preventing to be the PRD code to be visible correctly in PUI. And usually by experience, I can tell you that it's visible in API, but somehow it's not captured in the PUI. So if you, I don't know when you need to submit the EAF, but I'm pretty sure Christina, the EAF product owner, she also recommends to still use the PDF form, which is definitely not amazing and ideal, but for the moment, until we don't fix the whole product impacted, you can only use the PDF one. I'll follow up with that one and ask our PMS Snow team to give a bit of priority here to check whether at least if it has been fixed, and maybe just an update has not been shared. Thank you.
Perfect. So next question. In the FAR XMLs, each package product definitions has a record status. There is no documentation about it and it's not visible in PUI. Could you say how this value is set and how it can be changed?
So you say, okay, this would be a question for Andre because I think it's an API. So indeed, we don't have actually in PY we have not a record status but an authorization status. So I think you are referring to the record status that comes from an RMS list, which can be valid, provisional, or nullified. I assume you're referring to that. Now, in fire messages, we need to track also this kind of record, which is definitely not a PMS data model element. So it's not something that you populate. What you populate usually is the authorization status of the marketing authorization, a product and a package level. In this case, the record status is something that the system, PMS API, not POI, that's why you don't see that, is able to read from a technical point of view upon like an invalidation of marketing status of a record in XVMPD, so a PRD code. In this case, if you notice and you look for products that have been invalidated, the corresponding record status for that specific definition can be packaged or it can also be a medicinal product, by the way, will classify as nullified. Now, there is a code I think is ending 007. And instead, if you check in API any valid authorizations, like valid, simply valid, you will see that at medicinal product level and a package product level, the record status is equivalent to valid from the RMS record status term list. It's a technical value, but it's not definitely something that you need to populate. Thank you, colleague.
Next question. For the manufacturer enrichment via PMS API, when the reference to the active substance will be implemented?
Good question. Thank you for that. So, as you know, this is not available. We are the strategy that the EMA is working on is to try to open, at least work on the opening of the full data enrichment all together. This is not yet totally confirmed because we are still defining and refining the strategy for even external impact. But the relationship of the manufacturer's data business operation to the active substance, such as also for instance, the medical device, there is a reference also there, will be implemented as part of the full data enrichment. At the moment, this is not yet available. We don't have yet a timeline, a concrete timeline to share with you. I can tell you that the upper management is refining indeed the best strategy as much as possible to share an update in 2026, but at the moment I'm afraid I don't have a date. Thank you.
Next question. So why in PMS we are not able to see the latest updates from the latest XCV MPD version? For some cases, we can see updates that are reflecting from the last valid version, not from the current version. Can you please clarify?
I saw tickets like that, and even today I was discussing this. So what can happen? I would encourage you to check whether your product has been part of a marketing authorization transfer. If that's the case, as I mentioned before, we are working to fix all the products impacted to show exactly the packages and the PRD code associated. If in generally you don't see the latest indeed XVMPD version, because for instance, yesterday you submitted an update in XVMPD, and you of course are expecting to see this change in maximum 1 hour, 2 hours in PMS API. It might be that the most common case, you have a long queue from XVMPD in terms of processing the messages. So that's the most common cases. But if it takes more than 24 hours, that's not anymore the case. It might be that you are maybe under the delta, somehow they got stuck and they didn't work. So my suggestion is always to try to submit a dummy update to see if somehow you wakes up, let's say, allow me to use this term, the delta from XVMPD data load to PMS. Usually works. This is what Marcus and we do constantly. In a ticket, usually we do on your behalf, but now I don't have any specific data, the PRD codes or the ticket ID. So I would encourage you to go to XUMPD, try to submit a dummy update at the level of the packaged medicinal products. It might be that if you have been waiting more than 24 hours since the update was submitted to XVMPD, it might be that that's the case to submit a dummy one, just to wake up the delta. Otherwise, please open a ticket and we will have a look to that as well. Thank you, colleagues.
Sorry. There we go. Okay, so bulk updates pack sizes. How do we proceed for multiple products with multiple pack sizes? We perform one bulk update per each pack size. For instance, 10 tablets pack size from the source product and 10 tablets for the target products. Then bulk update for 20 tablets, etc. Is there a faster way?
I will say so. Of course, you can submit a bulk update. So if you say bulk, probably you're referring to PUI. If you have multiple products with exactly same pack size, definitely you can do that. Just for you to know, colleagues, if you have we have been running a UAT to see if we can enhance the capability to submit more and more products in one go with the bulk update. So far, we've been able to test and confirm that if you have like 110 PMS IDs, you can do that in bulk because it's working and the system is processing the data on a timely manner, of course, without wasting your time and waiting hours. But yeah, so as many products you can do that, I will definitely do it. And it's the fast way. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. So for the manufacturer enrichment via PMS API, when the same MBO is defined for different substances with potentially different start dates, shall we submit both or only one with earlier state?
No, colleagues, submit only once because in any case, we don't have, as I mentioned before, the relationship integrated in PMS, either API or PY, it doesn't matter, but we don't have this functionality implemented. So if you submit, for instance, an business operation for paracetamol, then the same business operation for another substance, we are not able to understand which substance you're referring to. So you can just pick one and submit the data. Then in the backend, once we will be able to improve the relationship and open the full data model for the entry of this information, definitely there will be more chance to consolidate and align all the data. But just one for the moment is sufficient. Otherwise, you just create duplicates and it doesn't help at the end. Thank you.
Next question. Site role, storage distribution of active substance is not tracked in SAMED and hence will not be visible in PMS PUI. This is response we received on our ticket for one site, which was missing in PMS UI. So do we need to update in PMS UI at full enrichment? Please guide us on how to handle this.
So I can tell you that not all the business operation from the RMS list are stored into SciMed. Now, I would suggest you to do in the same with the same approach that I always propose to the user submitting question exactly in the scope. If you want, you can open a ticket like as a question, and you can tell me the exact manufacturer business operation term like this one, and I can try in Siamet to see with the business colleagues if they want to submit this information to see them reflected. I cannot guarantee because they have their own way of storing data, but I can give a try at least. It allows me to get more information and further updates the file on this regard, because I notice also the same. Some manufacturer business operations are not visible even though they are part of the dossier, and the reply that I got was that Siam team is not interested to track it. So I can check with them definitely. Thank you, colleagues.
As of today, what should CAPS do in PMS? Just check data correctness. We have excipients duplicated, wrong indication on PMS, correct on XCV MPD, wrong data in general. Updates on XCV MPD still does not appear in PMS. What is best for CAPS? Send ticket or wait for bug issues fixes?
So I can tell you already that for maybe it's a bad news, it's a good news, not bad. For the cabs, most of the issues that you find in terms of duplicated record, missing information, etc., are coming because cabs are also much emerged from XCVMPD and Siamet. We have been identifying the issue that most of the root cause is because of the Siamet. It's in technical jargon is Siamet ETL. So we are trying to refactor the Siamet system to try to mitigate at the best these issues. If you want, you can open a ticket and I can list you for each of the issues that we have, the root cause. But I can tell you, excipient duplicated is definitely something coming from Siamet, because we have been fixing quite a lot of products. There can still be a chance to manually fix it, but it might re-happen. So until we don't really deploy the ending solution, which is actually, I can tell you, I will be involved in this testing in Q2 for these Siamet data fixes, the issue might happen again, but we're fully committed to improve it. So this is really up to you. What I'm proposing to you is for those updated from XCVMPD that do not appear in PMS, please have a look if this is because of the marketing authorization transfer. And if not, or if you want to have more clarification, I'm more than happy to share via the ticket the answer, because it might be also that it's coming from the previous issue that I was mentioned, that we gradually fix all the product impacted. Feel free to send it, definitely, if you want. Thank you.
Thank you. So next question. There we go. When you look in the PMS for the MAHs, it shows the lock ID and display the MAH name. However, when you look up the same lock ID in OMS, the company is spelled differently, and in some cases it even refers to different name. How are MAHs updates propagated from OMS to PMS?
Yeah, so this is an iris issue, and I can explain to you. I don't know if you were following the previous discussion I was mentioning. So when you submit PRD information in XCVMPD, you use EV codes from XCVMPD for the MAH. The EV codes are mapped in OMS with the corresponding org and loc ID. Now, in PMS API, we work based on loc ID. So you see a loc ID, and then below in the fire message, the MAA name. And this is what you find basically. What I notice, and that's why it's coming from Iris's issue, is that in API you have always the latest up-to-date information. But when it comes to PUI, now I don't know for PMS if you're referring to PUI or API, I suspect PUI. When it comes to PMS PUI, and you read indeed the loc ID and the name of the marketing authorization owner, the name is different because the iris team has a block that prevents in loading the latest up-to-date data from OMS and PMS, because they need to make sure that all their entitlement cases are correctly completed, the procedures, the regulatory procedure is completed, and the fees has been paid. So they have this kind of blocker. And every time I notice this, I know because we receive in first hand tickets marked PMS PUI. I know already that I need to assign to them, because in the backend they need to check if all the entitlements have been completed and correctly tracked, and then update the record. And only when they update the record in PUI, you will find exactly the same information as per XVMPD and then API. We need to work on this because it's not definitely user friendly and it's also time consuming for all of us. But for the moment, this is the situation, just to bring a bit of clarity to all of your colleagues.
Okay, next question. What is the PMS migration rule for UK NI products when the image submits two full product names, one generic and one brand for the same strength in XCV-MPD? And how are these products grouped in PMS?
And I'm afraid here we need Marcus because he's the expert on UK products between XVMPD and PMS. I apologize. I wish I could reach him offline, but he's on annual leave. So I'm afraid we need to wait at least 2 weeks or the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, Colin.
next question. MBO enrichments, are CROs requested for bioequivalent studies only, or should MAHs transmit also CROs performing manufacturing activities?
So I saw today a similar question, but not as articulate as this one. And if you don't mind, colleagues, because I'm involving the CRO experts here, I will follow up with them, because so we need to provide also in chapter 2 a better guide on this regard. Chapter 3 actually, because Marcus has included this. I can't give you an answer. I know that they want to see the responsible organization for the bioequivalent study, but I'm not sure about the manufacturing activities. I can follow up. I took a screenshot of this and I'll ask to the colleague if they can share with us any feedback, because this request to submit CRO is coming from the business human division group. So I'll check with them and let you know. I'm actually sending an email now.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Will bulk update work in case of multiple pack sizes in PMS? We experience that all pack sizes are copied into the same AMP instead of generating separate entries for each. For products with only one pack size, it works fine as there is no possibility for mix-ups.
It might be an issue because so it might be linked to the transfer. So, colleague, you need to tell me if this was the result of a transfer. If you have multiple pack size, you will find them in the authorized medicinal product definition, definitely, because you have a summary of the corresponding PRD codes. But then it's key and crucial to see them split correctly and reflected correctly at the package medicinal product definition. If you don't see that, then I need a ticket because I need to fix it and I need to know where this is coming from, whether from API or PY. But is not the expected behavior. You need to see the pack size correctly reflected and splitted at both definitions and no mixed.
Okay. A question from Luxembourg. So does the national number, which is a 7 digits, as pack size level also have to be submitted for non-CAP and non-ULCM medicinal products?
Pack size level. I'm not sure, colleague, on this one. We need Marcos because he's the one who is the one responsible for collecting these national numbers. But you should be, if you have updated I know the principle is, if in XVMPT you have been entering the national number, then you should be able to see that reflected package level as well. If you don't see that, then there is a delta issue. but I can even take a screenshot here and see if Marcos, when he's back, he can address it. Maybe so similar cases, but yeah, I'm not able to provide an update on this or information. Apologies.
No worries. Okay, and just to let you know, colleagues, we're launching as usual our feedback survey. So if you could please take just a couple minutes, perfect. Exactly. And we can know, of course, your feedback, which is always really useful for each session that we have. So I'll go back to the questions, but that's just to confirm that it's been launched. If we use EAF for MP with a split it of PMS ID, which is the best practice? Do we select all of the PMS IDs to have all the pack sizes?
Yes, so if you have different PMS IDs, because of the grouping elements are different, then yes, you need to select all the PMS IDs for the EAF scope. That's yes, it's a yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a CR where manufacturer plus MBO data was added into multiple products, so book update. CR was validated and posted, and it is now in state completed. The data is, however, not updated onto the products, and CR itself is light gray in my workspace and not functional link when others are in black.
So it's not migrated. When you say it's not appearing in PUI, I guess. So yeah, if you see completed, I will need the CR number, the ID, because then I need to ask the PUI development team to investigate on what happened in the backend. If you have completed, if you see the state completed, it means that has been correctly taken by the system and propagated into PMS API. But I need to check if this is propagated to API but not taken in PUI, so from Iris, or if in the backend something went wrong. And if you see light gray, that's also not a problem, because when you submit it, usually you cannot change it anymore. But I'm afraid I really need an ID. If you can attach it to this comment, I can share it to the Scrum Master in PY, the responsible person, and they can check SAP. Thank you, colleague, and I'm sorry you don't have this reflected.
Okay, so we are receiving third act from EMA where they did dummy updates. However, the PMS data is still not correct and differs from XCV MPD data. What should we do with that?
So if you receive if you're in this situation, it means that the data are not yet loaded, even though the dummy has been submitted by probably XVMPD team or the PMS team. Usually, colleague, the dummy is on a field like package description where we just add a space or remove a dot. We don't do anything regulatory related at all. But if you still don't see the data correctly reflected, then I need to assign that ticket to the PMS data quality team to investigate on the root cause, why the delta are not propagating correctly the information from XCVMPD, and B, fix it in the backend, because then it means that people like Marcos and me, or even you as MAH, you cannot fix it manually with a simple dummy update. There must be something in the backend that went wrong. And if it's a cap, it might be due to Siemens system. So I really need to have a look. Thank you.
Okay. So next question is about the PUI pack size book update. We face the situation that the pack sizes of the source product are assigned to every packed medicinal product of the target. So target products has, for instance, 3 pack medicinal products, 1 tablets, 3 tablets, and 5 tablets with different pack sizes.
Yeah, but I don't understand the question. So I'm not sure I understand the issue here, if it's an issue or just a sharing of information. But if you have in XMPD, you have created a PRD code per that packaged medicinal product. So you have one per 1 tablet, another package authorized with 3 tablets and 5 tablets. I'm not too sure you can have this situation, honestly. But maybe it's possible. If you want to share with me the PRD code, I can have a look in the backend. But this should be reflected into PMS as a specific package medicinal product entity, separated, because you have a PRD code. I hope I'm understanding correctly the situation, but if not, maybe in the comments you can clarify a bit further. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so do you know when the ATC filter in PLM will work correctly again?
Yes, I mentioned actually before while I was presenting. So the latest feedback right before this meeting I got from the POI developer team was that they actually were already had already implemented in production. But I'll check even further because I haven't tested. I haven't checked in production if this is really deployed. So I can have a look, but if it's not, it's expected by the next week. I just got this update, but I couldn't check exactly in PLM production immediately. We have been able to identify what was the issue and also to implement the new ULCM list. So I really hope, because it took quite a while to fix this, that if it's not already implemented, by next week it's done, because they have been deploying the solution. Thank you, colleague.
Got a few questions, a few minutes left. So should an MBO which have performed a clinical study, so not a B study, used for approval of a generic product be entered in PMS? The study and MBO info is needed in the EIF. If yes, should we use the term bioequivalence contract research organization, or will there be another term available?
I will add this question to my CRO expert from the agency, because we have received this requirement to submit a CRO from their side. So I'll make sure she can also address this one. I'm just texting her, so I'm afraid I don't have the answer.
Okay.
Thank you, colleague, for sharing.
Okay, so PMS POI. As told previously, discussions regarding CROs is ongoing. We would like to mention that it would be very useful to include also inactive or old CROs in PMS, although they cannot be inserted in OMS. Maybe a way of insertion by hand can be established.
I can tell you that we already had this discussion on whether or not it's necessary to request CRO, inactive CRO or very old. But the answer from the head of the business, actually, not even the CRO colleagues, it was no, that is not needed to track historical records. So all inactive or no longer the existing CRO data should not be entered into the PMS, because our vision is to gather the data from a specific starting point. So since we open the information, we don't really need to track all the historical version of the products, because we are not even able to confirm them. In case we will be, because at a certain point we will be starting validating the information, and very, very old information they're not necessary. And this is the feedback I got, and I'm wishing I will be able to update soon the chapter 3 to explain that.
Okay. Got about a minute left. Can we expect to see new entries for different pack sizes of non-critical IPs in Web EIF?
I am afraid this is an EAF related question, so I'm not the right person to address it. I can again pass it over to Christina, but I cannot share any answer there. I'll test her.
Okay. And this question, PMS enrichment, data field MA reference number and related effective date. The manufacturing authorization is renewed periodically, for instance, every year. With a renewal, a new number is allocated and also the effective date is changed. Does the EMH need to track this and update in PMS accordingly?
So I know this topic because it was resumed by the PMS, also SMEs. But what you need to do for the moment is to keep the data up to date. So if they change, it doesn't need to be necessarily updated immediately. You can even change and update later in case you renew it. But yeah, you should be tracking that. Now, there is still a bit of gray area because we opened this set of elements to support the ESMP shortage reporting team, and so far we haven't been receiving specific, requirement from their side. This is mostly a regulatory aspect, from what I understand. But for the moment, you can keep up to date at your best convenient. As you know, there are not even firm timeline to submit this information, but of course you are required to keep it up to date in mostly in the same way you do in XVMPD, but with more flexible timeline, let's say.
Okay.
And
Perfect, colleagues. I think yes, we finished our time. So I'll leave the word to Veronica to close the meeting. Thank you
no,
very
I
much.
thank you, Vivian. I thank you very much for being with us. I have already received few answer which I will pull into this in Slido from the CRO colleagues. So please bear with me. And maybe Vivian, please do not archive because I know the user they cannot see the answers. So let's leave them as they are. And I'll see
Absolutely.
you at the next PMS, PUI, and API Q&A clinics on the 10th of March. So in 1 month's time. Thank you so much, colleague, and have a good afternoon.